Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Joseph Lopez. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs kickstarts feasibility plans for sustainable energy initiatives. New lighting facilities completed at recreation grounds in Couva North and Day Bay. And the Minister of Sport announces plans for Professional National Netball League. The International American Development Bank has partnered with Trinidad and Tobago in the development of a sustainable energy arena. The initiative will see an allocation of alternative energy resources such as wind and solar and an eventual move away from this country's dependence on natural gas supplies.
The official Starter Sustainable Energy Matrix and Framework for Trinidad and Tobago will see the development of alternative energy resources. The project is being kick-started by the Energy Ministry and follows a series of technical consultations done with various international stakeholders. Energy Minister Kevin Ramnarine says currently assessments are being conducted for the feasibility of a wind farm as the ministry looks to diversify its energy resources away from natural gas.
We have asked PowerGen to consider a wind farm on the east coast of Trinidad and Tobago because our east coast is very prolific when it comes to wind. Those of you all who know the east coast would know that from Toko to Mayaro, there's hardly a time when the wind is not blowing. But we don't. We of course have to operate on a scientific basis, and the government has agreed to the wind resource assessment study, and that is soon to be awarded by the National Energy Corporation. At present, 100% of our power is being generated by natural gas. So all our eggs are in one basket. And the only other country in the world that does that generates all its power from natural gas, is Qatar. So we would want to now begin to diversify our power generation mix away from natural gas and towards other sources. And it would be a step in the right direction to begin to diversify towards renewable energy sources.
The initiative is a collaboration between the International American Development Bank and the Ministries of Energy and Planning and Sustainable Development. Minister Botiwari says the loan will see the strengthening and reform of government's push for maintenance of a balanced ecological environment.
In the coming weeks, the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and the IDB are expected to sign agreements with regard to the institutional strengthening of the EMA and piloting the integration of coastal zone management and climate change adaptation in Tobago. That was approved by Cabinet yesterday. A loan is now under consideration for final approval related to waste and water rehabilitation. This program will contribute to the government of Trinidad and Tobago's effort to improve the environmental conditions in Trinidad and Tobago by decreasing the uncontrolled discharge of untreated wastewater into the environment. It will be the largest IDB loan approved for Trinidad and Tobago in the English-speaking Caribbean.
IADB consultant Fernando Casado Canike says Trinidad and Tobago has the ideal structures and requirements for the commencement of such a project.
I think we all agree that we have today, Trinidad and Tobago has the resources, the economic resources, and the minister just mentioned all the loans and the financial support they're receiving to develop this. And Trinidad has the resources, the economic resources to develop this. You guys have the technology, and it's available, and we know which technology it's applicable. It's a question of deciding, but we have the technology, and you have the human capital to develop this. And maybe the only thing missing and the only thing that has to be strengthened is the political will, a very active political will to determine the road path.
Studies so far on the cost effectiveness as well as the required technologies show a prospective future investment for Trinidad and Tobago in the sustainable energy arena. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
When we come back, the lighting of the recreational grounds in Day Bay and Couva North are completed. Stay with us. In the spirit of the approaching Christmas season, the Ministry of Public Utilities and TNTech has bestowed an early gift to the residents of Couva North and Edinburgh. A lighting ceremony took place on their recreational ground, and the community is the 17th to be visited in 2012 and to have lighting on their recreation ground commissioned.
Minister of Public Utilities, the Honourable Nizam Baksh, says he is pleased to have this time of renewal in the Edinburgh community where hundreds of residents use the recreational ground. He adds that although he is no longer in the Ministry of Community Development, which afforded him community ties that are somewhat difficult to break, he is always eager to participate in activities which bring him back to communities of familiar places and faces.
One of the most pronounced of those motivations is my liking to play an active part in finding solutions to problems faced by my fellow citizens. It is why, even though I am no longer a part of the Ministry of Community Development, I remain grateful for any outlet where I can participate and witness firsthand how these improvements benefit residents and rejuvenate the communities to which they belong.
The Minister extends his sincere appreciation and thanks to TNTech and to all who contributed to the successful installation of lights. He adds he is therefore inclined to view the newly installed lights as both a growing agent and seed for further development in the community.
The area of Edinburgh has been the site for rich, value-creating community work. Your own Edinburgh United Sports Club has been assisting you in channeling your energies into positive pursuits for the past 34 years.
The Minister took time to acknowledge and pay tribute to some of the persons in the community who have done exceptionally well in the field of sport despite the challenge of lack of resources.
The cricket team, which I believe is associated with the club, has also performed admirably within recent times, qualifying for the semi-final in both the Saturday 2020 and Sunday 25 overs tournaments. I will therefore encourage the players and coaching staff to continue applying yourselves, and in the future you may see yourselves promoted to the ranks of the local Premier League.
He also took time to praise the Member of Parliament for the area, Ramona Ramdial, for championing the cause.
Your MP was persistent in making representation for the illumination of this recreation ground. You know, she has a way, whenever she met me, she will give me a big smile and a nudge and a firm reminder she wants this ground lit. And here it is, we are here today to the formal illumination of this ground.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
Residents of Davie also got an early Christmas present as the Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission turned on the lights at the Kennedy Park Recreation Ground. Member of Parliament for the area, Housing Minister Dr. the Honourable Rudal Munilal, was on hand for the illumination ceremony, along with Public Utilities Minister, the Honourable Nizam Baksh.
The Trinidad and Tobago Electricity Commission Public Lighting Department is continuing its illumination drive. Kennedy Park in Davie is the 16th park to be illuminated by TNTech for 2012. The ground is an important one in the area and has hosted games for West Indies under-15 and under-17 cricket tournaments in the past. Addressing residents, Dr. Munilal says for too long residents of the area have been denied the opportunity to a richer community life.
We're extremely happy that TNTech at this time has recognized the importance of our communities, and they have driven this initiative to ensure particularly that our young people, our sportsmen and women and our elderly enjoy all the benefits that would occur from illuminated recreation and community spaces. This brings added value to our community and the residents. It promotes a richer community life for sports, for culture, and for entertainment. We value this opportunity to present our communities a wonderful public good, a public good that for many years and in some cases decades have been denied to persons in these areas and within our region.
Dr. Munilal says the lighted grounds will now enable the government to provide greater options to the community.
I look forward to joining you here at this park on many future occasions, and providing now with the security of lighting, we will ensure that there are more and more activities of a sporting, entertainment and recreational nature to engage all members of the community.
The upgrading of the grounds cost approximately $740,000. Residents will now exercise and enjoy recreational activities under 72 1500-watt spotlights mounted on 6 21-meter poles, all powered by underground low-voltage cables. Finishing touches are also being put on grounds in Guaracara, Couva, Pinal, Siparia, Tacarigua, and Barrackpore. Meanwhile, Dr. Munalal outlines other plans he has for the community. He says the planned works should all take place by next year.
We are currently completing paving works in Kuchawan Trace, in Picton Settlement in the vicinity of this ground. We will move next to Priam Street in Darasing Drive and other areas to continue those road works and concrete works. While we have a lot more work to do, particularly in the Monkey Town Barrackpore area as well, we intend to finish Laltu Trace within the coming months, where we have started, where the people there have also suffered for a long time. So with our infrastructure construction work, our lighting work, our WASA also working with us, we expect 2013 to be a very productive year for this region.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
A professional netball league in sport after the break. Stay with us. In sports news, the Sport Minister, the Honorable Anil Roberts, has announced plans for this country's first ever professional national netball league. He makes the announcement as reveals government's plans to build regional community sporting centers throughout the country. The centers will fit with plans by the Education Ministry to modify the primary school curriculum.
495,937,500 for 9 community regional sporting centers, and the term of the loan will be for 17 years, and these facilities will begin shortly. The tender process is currently underway. The design build will take into account the cultural differences in areas with regards to sport, whether it is football, cricket, basketball. But one thing that will be uniform to most of these facilities is a 25-meter pool will be included, as we work with the Minister and the Ministry of Education to ensure by 2015 that swimming is compulsory for all primary school students 8 years and under.
Minister Roberts laments the downfall of this country's netball performances on the world stage. He says it's time that something must be done.
As we move towards a resurgence in netball, each facility will have an indoor netball air-conditioned court that will not have to be shared with any other sport. As you know, netball, we were once great world champions, and now our level has diminished significantly. So in our move to revitalize netball, these facilities will be constructed throughout Trinidad and Tobago.
He reveals the facilities are important if a national netball league is to be established. The league, he says, is necessary if Trinidad and Tobago are to regain our status as world netball champions.
The sport company, as well as certain corporate sponsors, are right now in talks to begin at the first ever professional netball league in Trinidad and Tobago, with teams that will also have to have as a component development age group teams, as we try to unearth talent to not only compete with Jamaica, but definitely get up to the level of Australia, New Zealand, Cook Islands, and the like, so that we can win a world championship again.
Gregory McBurney, News 4 Sports.
And meanwhile, after a stellar showing by the Trinidad and Tobago at London 2012, this government is already focusing on the 2016 Olympics, due to be held in Rio de Janeiro. Elite athletes will receive more funding and coaches will be brought in from China, all in an attempt to increase the model hall for TNT at the next Olympic Games.
Sports Minister, the Honorable Anil Roberts, says infrastructural work is being done to cater for athletes preparing for Rio 2016. He says the National Aquatic Center, the National Tennis Center, and the Cycling Velodrome should be completed in less than 2 years. However, he notes in addition to the infrastructure, athletes will require increased funding if they are to stand a better chance at medaling in Brazil.
The 2016 Olympic preparation has begun and shall now see an increase in funding up to $12 million for our elite athletes per year. So we expect over the next 4 years to spend approximately $48 million to prepare our athletes, where the goal will be to increase the number of individuals and teams who qualify for the Olympics in Brazil.
The $12 million figure represents an almost 300% increase in funding previously allotted to elite athletes. The Sports Ministry is also seeking to increase the amount of elite athletes who can represent this country at the Olympics in lesser-known sports, such as synchronized swimming and diving. Minister Roberts reveals coaches will be brought in from China to assist in developing athletes to represent the country in sports which have a low popularity but a possibly high talent pool.
Sports such as table tennis, diving, badminton, synchronized swimming, and the like. So we are going to utilize their expertise to improve upon our existing talent pool. As you know, especially in table tennis, we have some very young up-and-coming athletes like Catherine Spicer, Aaron Rupnarine, young Joseph from Diego Martin, and so on. So we are going to improve the coaching level so that they can possibly qualify for Olympics 2016 and 2020.
Gregory McBurney, News 4 Sports.
And sorry, that will be Medal Hall for the 2016 Olympic Games. Stay with us. News 4 continue after the break. Tutors across the country engaged in a 2-day seminar workshop on the theme, Breaking the Silence. The educators were trained on building effective responses for adolescents who might be victims of suicide. The training sessions took place at the University of the West Indies Social Science Lounge. Their faces tell a story, and who knows what walls of pain are put up behind the many smiles. And for the children and adolescents who have been victims of bullying and suicide throughout the nation, life is perhaps a struggle to survive. The issue is at heart and is being put on the front burner by the Ministry of Education as it seeks to train educators across the country on suicide and bullying among children and adolescents. Director of Psychological Health for the Florida National Guard, Michael McFarlane, is training the teachers on what signs and symptoms to look for in a child who might be contemplating suicide.
What we're doing today is meeting with educators, helping them to understand what are some of the things that they need to be looking for, listening for in terms of students who might possibly be in suicidal crisis, and helping them to understand what they can do to help students get the help that they need. So they're the frontline people who are more apt to be the person to notice that something's going on.
The issue brief examines the relationship between bullying and suicide among children and adolescents. It also explores problems and ways of dealing with these issues. Mr. McFarlane makes reference to a video clip where 2 teachers are discussing the behavioral change of a student in their class who might be going through a serious case of depression.
Lately, I've noticed him slamming his books around in my English class and fighting with his girlfriend in the cafeteria. I heard some kids talking, and they said that he got another ticket last week for speeding out of the school park. And when they asked him about it, he said something like he didn't care if he got in an accident and was killed like his friend.
So, kids get dramatic about this death stuff. Besides, nothing else sounds any different than most high school seniors.
Like the scenario played out, Mr. McFarlane says there can be risk factors and warning signs that teachers as well as parents need to pay particular attention to.
I think the teachers are doing great. I mean, very interactive group, lots of good comments, taking their job very seriously and recognizing that as educators they really do have a role to help keeping their students safe.
He says it also explores strategies for dealing with problems such as bullying and suicide among students and children, mainly in schools. Every at least 100,000 adolescents are dying by suicide around the world, and every day there are at least 11 youth suicide.
A lot of times when people are in psychological pain, the other thing that's going on is they tend to have a lot of negative thoughts. They're not thinking nice, happy thoughts, are they? That's part of what's the problem. They're having a lot of negative thought processes. And so they are very negative oriented. The world's not right, the family's not right, I hate school, I hate this. You know, it's all about that kind of thought process.
The reality in the classroom is for teachers to understand their role in the suicide prevention. It is important, however, to note that a student should never be dared to commit suicide. Never debate with a student about it, and don't promise secrecy or confidentiality. International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women is observed globally. The Rape Crisis Society and the Trinidad and Tobago Coalition Against Domestic Violence have organized 16 days of activity. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is also making good on pledges to end violence against women and girls. The International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women marks the start of the 16 days of activism that will lead up to Human Rights Day on the 10th of December. The campaign reminds us that violence against women is one of the most widespread human rights abuse in all countries. Individuals, organizations, and institutions across the world are being called on to organize a special event during this period in a bid to put an end to violence against women.
On behalf of the Ministry of Gender, Youth and Child Development, I would like to applaud the Rape Crisis Society for its commitment to lobby for the development of policies, laws, institutions and systems to protect women and children in Trinidad and Tobago against domestic violence.
This year, the event encourages all parliaments to organize a special event under the theme, using legislation to end violence against women and girls.
The 16 days of activism against gender-based violence helps promote the equal rights of men, women, boys and girls within the society. This is a time to draw attention to the needs and disadvantages suffered by vulnerable groups in Trinidad and Tobago. Not only does it increase awareness of abuse in our society, but it also builds support for victims and survivors of abuse.
This violence prevents women and girls around the world to live in dignity, violates their fundamental human rights, and impedes them from achieving their full potential. But there are survivors of this violent abuse, like Miss Nesta Flanders Skeet, who shares a story.
My husband used to tell me I'm so big and fat and ugly, nobody wanted me. Nobody wanted me, and the kind of degrading things he would tell me, I used to look down, keep my head down all where I go, I'm looking down. I would never look someone in the face. Up to now, I have problems looking at people straight in the face. And my children tell me, Mommy, let's put off your makeup, comb up your hair. And when they took off my picture and I looked at it, I said, I'm a beautiful woman. And I blew up the picture and I put it on the wall. And I started to talk to that picture. And I told myself, I have my education. I went to school. I have my subjects. I have so much training. I have so much, and most of all, I am a child of God. Why am I taking this?
Miss Nesta says it wasn't always easy. After inflicting much abuse, she decided that it was finally time to do something about it. This is what she did.
So I asked God, that's how the farmer will prepare this, so I'll prepare his heart, because I want to talk to him and let him know what he's doing to me. And I sat down, and when I thought the time was right, I told him, in the most loving, humble way I could, what he was putting us through. And he told us to, Ness, I need help.
Adopting strong laws backed by implementation and services for protection and prevention is vital to guaranteeing respect for fundamental rights of women and girls, most notably their right to security and to a life free of violence. Through this endeavor, the government of Trinidad and Tobago is making a critical difference through their legislative power. The International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women is an opportunity to focus on this issue. And that's how we wrap up our News for Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communication. I'm Joseph Lopez. Thank you for watching.